Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Jai Gurudev. So we were doing verse 30 and 31 yesterday. We'll just go back to this one more time. अपरे नियताहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वेप्येते यज्ञविदो यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः. Apare, others, niyata aharaha, who regulate their food intake, pranan, their desires to eat more, praneshu, unto the digestive fires, juhvati, offer, sarve, all, api, without exception, ete, these, yajna vidaha, who observe religious disciplines, yajna kshapita kalmashaha, become those for whom the impurities of the mind have been destroyed by the yajna. अपरे नियत आहाराः प्राणान् प्राणेषु जुह्वति सर्वे अपि एते यज्ञविदः यज्ञक्षपितकल्मषाः. Others who regulate their food intake offer their desire to eat more unto the digestive fires. All these people who observe religious disciplines become, without exception, those for whom the impurities of the mind have been destroyed by the yajna. Those who regulate or measure their food are called niyata aharas. Only this much will I eat and no more, they say. While ahara refers to anything that goes inside of oneself, ahriyate iti aharaha, including the sense objects enjoyed by the senses. Generally, it means food, drink, and whatever else that goes into one's stomach. There is a rule governing the quantities to be taken in, which says half of the stomach is to be filled with solids, 1/4 with liquids, and 1/4 is to be left empty for the movement of air. In other words, the fourth quarter is to be left alone. Nothing is to be put into it. This then is how the quantity of food is to be measured by those who practice this form of discipline. Puraye dashanenartham. Puraye is to fill. Puraye dashanenartham. तृतीयमुदकेन च तृतीयमुदकेन तु वायोः सञ्चरणार्थं तु चतुर्थम् अवशेषयेत्. So 1/2, 1/4, and 1/4 is to be left for air. 1/2 is food. Discipline eating as an offering. In this particular discipline, there is a yajna because there is always the desire to eat more or not to eat at all if the food that is available is not very tasty. Therefore, not responding to the desire to eat or not to eat becomes a yajna by observing measured eating, which is why such people are called niyata aharas. They offer their desires with reference to eating unto the digestive system, which creates the hunger and thirst. Pranan praneshu juhvati. Even though the person may still feel hungry, he or she stops after the appropriate quantities have been consumed. And if eating between meals is what is to be avoided, then the person does not take even the smallest snack, regardless of his or her hunger. Such desires for eating are offered unto the prana of digestion, unto the fires of digestion, unto the fire of hunger that causes digestion. Those who follow this discipline as a yajna also live a life of prayer. In common with the other types of seekers mentioned in these verses, a life of prayer enables the seekers to gain a certain control over themselves, a certain self mastery. Here, those who offer their desires for food into the fires of digestion also offer their prayers, thereby making this particular discipline another kind of yajna. I'll repeat this para again. See, those who follow this discipline as a yajna also live a life of prayer. In common with the other types of seekers mentioned in these verses, a life of prayer enables the seekers to gain a certain control over themselves, a certain self mastery. Like we saw in the previous one, was all about the pranayama. So, controlling your breath. The inhalation is offered into exhalation and vice versa. And you break the pattern of the breath. Rather than make it involuntary, you make it voluntarily. You inhale for a certain length, hold, and then exhale. So we saw all those, the different types of pranayama that are offered as yajna. So similarly here, It when a life of prayer enables the seekers to gain a certain control over themselves, a certain self mastery. Here, those who offer their desires for food into the fires of digestion also offer their prayers, thereby making this particular discipline another kind of yajna. This much and no more, if you're able to say, rather than, oh, I want another helping, another. And staying with this discipline of giving the body how much it requires and not more. Again, it is a deliberate, you're willingly doing this. Then it becomes a prayer. If it is imposed as a rule, for example, for all the diabetics and all those who are on a diet, that is the rule that is imposed. They do it, but it is not prayerful. It becomes an imposition. It's a rule thrust by some outside source. But here is a prayer, it comes from within. You're doing it willfully, willingly. Like Swamiji earlier called it willful harakiri. So there are various types, various yajnas practiced in terms of food, none being superior or inferior to another. Everyone practices his or her own discipline, and all such people are called yajnavids in this verse, meaning those who follow various yajna or disciplines in terms of eating, what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, and so on. Such practices may be based on religious or cultural traditions or may be purely individual. Any type of discipline is considered a yajna if it is a religious discipline. If a discipline is practiced for the sake of health alone, for example, it is not considered a yajna. A diet is also a discipline with reference to eating, but it is not a yajna because there is no prayer involved in it. Only when there is prayer involved is a discipline considered to be religious and therefore a yajna. The results of performing a yajna. The word kalmashas in this verse means impurities and can refer to any type of defect, including any impurity in the mind, antakarana ashuddhi. One's raga dveshas, likes and dislikes, and any unsteadiness that may be in the mind because of the pressures of the raga dveshas are all kalmashas. These kalmashas are destroyed, kshapita, for those who practice yajna. From the standpoint of the result gained and the means employed, a name is given to these people, yajna kshapita kalmashaha, those whose impurities of the mind have been destroyed by yajna. All religious disciplines are efficacious for achieving this purpose. A certain integration, antakarana shuddhi, is gained, whatever be the discipline followed. No one discipline is superior to another. Which one to practice depends on what one wants, what one needs. This alone must be kept in view when practicing any religious discipline. The difference between a religious discipline and any other discipline has to be properly understood. Religious disciplines are not mere disciplines, which is why we do not call aerobics or following a special diet a yajna. For any discipline to be considered a yajna, it must be religious. Just going back to the previous para. See, no one discipline is superior to another. We have seen several disciplines now, right? Several yajnas. So, no one, you cannot say one is superior to the other. Wherever you start, whatever you do, as long as you do it as a yajna. And it depends on what is needed and what one wants at that point of time. Which one to practice depends on what one wants and what one needs. This alone must be kept in view when practicing any religious discipline. So there is no hierarchy over here. One is superior to the other. That's why Krishna says in later, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyupahritam ashnami prayatatmana. So what you offer is immaterial, but how you offer it becomes paramount. So any sharing before we go on to the next verse?
Dee, I wanted to ask if somebody has diabetes or BP or they given a proper diet by the nutritionist. So that doesn't become a yagna because that's a diet given.
No, but as long as they're doing it with that attitude of a prayer, then it becomes a yajna.
Okay, okay.
It is all the attitude in the mind, no? It does not mean a diabetic is not performing yajna if he is doing it in a prayerful attitude because he's been given a special diet. No. Even that, if he is taking that as that whole special diet itself, he's taking it as prasada, and he's bringing in that aspect of offering it to the divine.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
So even aerobics, there may be a person who's doing aerobics mechanically, but there may be another person who's doing the same aerobics, but he's doing it as a with the yajna bhava. The physical exercise that is being done is offered as a prayer. The end goal for the first person is only health, improving his muscles and whatever, the physical health. Whereas for the second person, the one who's doing it with an attitude of yajna, what is the end goal is only antakarana shuddhi. He's doing it as a prayer to cleanse his raga dveshas. Somewhere there is that body which saying, oh, I don't want to do exercise. But he's not going with the likes and dislikes. He or she gets up and does whatever. And The whole attitude, inner attitude, is that of a prayer. As an offering. See, what is happening here is that ego is getting a little diluted. It's still there, the Dvaita Bhava is still there, but it is getting more and more diluted. Here it is all about, in the first case, it's all about I. Oh, my health, my diet, um, my BP, my sugar. It's all related to that, the physical aspects. But here, on the second hand, when it's done as a yajna, it is an it's a more uplifted state where you're purifying your raga dveshas. See, even with respect to food, it is said either eating more or not eating at all. Both tantamount to it not being a yajna. So you're offering your desire. See, because there is some dish that is there, for example, that's the only thing that's available to eat. Because you don't like it, you say, no, I don't want to eat. That doesn't become a yajna. Your refraining from eating doesn't become a yajna because the reason why you're not eating is because you don't like what is there. So you're still a slave to your raga dveshas. Whereas when it's a prayer, you are neutralizing the raga dveshas. I don't like doing this, but it's because I'm having to do it. I will do it with that pleasant mind, with that prayerful attitude. I will do it with that smile, with that gratitude. So I think when we bring in the attitude of gratitude in all that we do, it becomes prayerful. Let's talk about it. Any other ways that you can make it prayerful? What are all the ways that we can make our activities prayerful?
Jai Gurudev, you can imagine as it is for the divine.
Yeah.
And when you are not adding any tamasic like onion, garlic, still it's a debatable, but you refrain from that. And from the divine, when you are eating as a prasad, then the prasad is always, most of the time, it is limited. So the food, the meal what we take is also like a prasad. And any temptation to have more can be avoided by thinking that uh, whatever I have taken as a first time serving was enough. Like when I did the happiness program for the first time, Gurudev had told only the first meal of raw, that raw material is sufficient to, हमारी जितनी भी मुट्ठी है उतना ही अनाज काफी है हमारे लिए. But when we see at the end of the day, it is like tons and tons of food, either by snacking in between the meals or overeating the meals. So when we make it as a prayer, then it is for the divine and from the divine, both way. Then, like Mirabai had got the poison, but it turned into Charanamrit for her. Jai Gurudev.
And each bite, like Bela ji rightly said, each bite, if you're having, it's offered like swaha to the divine. So it becomes prayerful eating.
And with the gratitude feeling, whoever, right from the farmer till it has reached in our kitchen and cooked by the mother or whoever has cooked,
with that gratitude feeling when we eat.
One of my friends, she does this. She says, divine has made the food for the divine and it's going to the divine. So, with that attitude, she says it's so uh, peacefully eating.
Again, anything that is done mindfully and with bringing in the divine into our awareness. Like China would say, see, when you're giving giving bath to or waking up your child, you're giving bath to your child, or you're feeding, or you're cooking, like we've just discussed now, like you've mentioned, you're doing it as an act of the divine, like you're doing abhisheka for the divine. Even when you're taking a bath, it is like you're doing an abhisheka for the divine. So just bringing in the divine into our awareness. So we'll go forward. Further, Krishna says, so what happens when we do this, when we offer this desire to eat more into the ahriyate iti aharaha. So it doesn't mean only physical food. Anything that you're feeding the senses with becomes food. So when you say enough and not more, with respect to all the senses, we can extrapolate it to all the senses, not just eating, but also the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of touch, the sense of taste, sense of smell. So all of this. So what you are giving, how much you're giving, and whether you are giving, not giving based on your raga dveshas, what you require. So when we do that, what happens is kalmashas, yajna kshapita kalmashas. So the impurities of the mind will start getting purified, which means the raga dveshas. What are the impurities of the mind? Main impurities are the raga dveshas. So they get purified. Raga dveshas and any unsteadiness that may be in the mind because of the pressures of raga dveshas are all kalmashas. So now Krishna says, Yajna Shishtamrita Bhujo Yanti Brahma Sanatanam Nayam Lokostya Yajnasya Kutonya Kuru Sattama. Kuru Sattama, O best among the Kurus, Arjuna, Yajna Shishta Amrita Bhujaha, those who partake of the nectar, the result that is left over after the yajna, Sanatanam Brahma, eternal Brahman, Yanti, reach, Ayajnasya, for the one who does not perform yajna. Ayajnasya, for the one who does not perform yajna, ayam, this lokaha, world, na asti, is not, anyaha, another, kutaha, how. So, kuru sattama, yajna shishta amrita bhujaha, sanatanam brahma yanti. Ayajnasya ayam lokaha na asti. Anyaha kutaha. Just give me a minute. So, O best among the Kurus, those who partake of the nectar, the result that is left over after the yajna, reach the eternal Brahman. For the one who does not perform yajna, nothing is gained in this world. How then can anything be gained in any other world? So, ayajnasya ayam lokaha na asti anyaha kutaha. Whereas, yajnashishta amrita bhujaha sanatanam brahmayanti. So, any yajna that is performed has a result. Amrita, nectar, here means the prasada, the result. Whatever is shishta, left over, after the offering is made in the yajna. And those who enjoy or partake of the results of these various yajnas are called yajna shishta amrita bhujas in this verse. And what do they gain by performing these religious disciplines? They gain steadiness and purity of mind, which enables them to enjoy a certain composure and tranquility. And if they are seekers, mumukshus, this kind of mind will help them gain the self knowledge they are pursuing. Whether or not the person is a mumukshu, there is always a result in the form of punya when a yajna is performed. Whatever this punya can give them, either in this life or future ones, it will give them. But moksha can only be gained if the person is a mumukshu, a seeker. Since we are talking about karma yogis here, the word yoginaha having been used previously, the people referred to in this verse will naturally be mumukshus. Being desirous of moksha, such people will gain the kind of mind that can inquire productively. In other words, their inquiry will bear fruit. They will gain eternal Brahman, yanti Brahma sanatanam. Inquiry implies time. I'll just read these three paras again. So, any yajna that is performed has a result. Amrita, nectar here means the prasada, the result, whatever is shishta, left over, after the offering is made in the yajna. And those who enjoy or partake of the results of these various yajnas are called yajna shishta amrita bhujas in this verse. And What do they gain by performing these religious disciplines? They gain steadiness and purity of mind, which enables them to enjoy a certain composure and tranquility. And if they are seekers, mumukshus, this kind of mind will help them gain the self-knowledge they are pursuing. Whether or not the person is a mumukshu, there is always a result in the form of punya when a yajna is performed. Whatever this punya can give them, either in this life or future ones, it will give them. But moksha can only be gained if the person is a mumukshu, a seeker. Otherwise, he will continue to get punya with whatever he does. And in order to exhaust that punya, he or she will continue to take a birth. So just doing yajna for the sake of yajna versus ultimately being a mumukshu. So this is the difference between a karma kandi and a person following Vedanta. For a karma kandi, a purva mimamsa, the only doing karma is enough. Nothing else is required. There's no question of jnana over there. Whereas for a mumukshu, he does the karma, no doubt, to neutralize ragadveshas, but he understands it's only through jnana that moksha can be attained. Since we are talking about karma yogis here, the word yoginaha having been used previously, the people referred to in this verse will naturally be mumukshus. Being desirous of moksha, such people will gain the kind of mind that can inquire productively. In other words, their inquiry will bear fruit. They will gain eternal Brahman. Yanti Brahma Sanatanam. So this is the assurance that Bhagavan is giving us. Inquiry implies time. The word yanti here means they go to or they reach Brahman. Both going and reaching indicating time, kala. I repeat this, the word yanti here means they go to or they reach Brahman. Both going and reaching indicating time, kala. Even though Brahman is the very nature of oneself, to say that Brahman will be reached implies that an inquiry must be conducted, for which some time is required. Enjoying the result of the yajna, a purified or steady mind, they inquire and gain the knowledge of Brahman. This is the only way people can go to or reach Brahman. The knower of Brahman being non-separate from Brahman, Atma already being Brahman, knowledge of this fact alone makes seekers gain Brahman. So you are already Brahman. What does this reaching and going to Brahman mean? It only means understanding the fact through knowledge. The knower of a thing does not usually become that thing. For example, the knower of microbiology does not become the microbes that he knows, nor does the knower of history become history. In such instances, the knower is always different from what he knows. Whereas, in the famous story of the 10th man, the knower of the 10th man is the 10th man. If I am the 10th man and I am also seeking the 10th man, then as the knower of the 10th man, I become the 10th man. I am the 10th man, and because I left myself out of the counting, I found the 10th man missing. When someone tells me, hey, you are the 10th man, I gain the knowledge of the 10th man as myself alone. Thus, the knower of the 10th man is indeed the 10th man. So see how this knowledge, self-knowledge, is different from any other knowledge. Normally, in Vyavahara, what I know, I am different from. I see the chair, I know the chair, I am different from the chair. I am not the chair. Whereas with respect to self-knowledge, with respect to Brahman, Atma Jnana, the knower, the known, and the knowledge, all of them are one. And how is this? The story of the 10th man. He's counting everybody, he's counting 1 to 9. So where is the 10th man? He's wailing, oh, the 10th man is missing. Then a passerby comes and says, hey, listen, you are the 10th man. He says, oh, then the realization dawns. So I am the 10th man. So the knowledge, the knower, and the known, the 10th man, is just that one. Similarly is Brahma Jnana. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. In certain instances, then, where the knower and the object known are identical, the knower of the object is the very object known. Whereas, where the object is separate, the knower of the object is different from the object. Here, Brahman is myself, Atma. Therefore, the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman, which is the peculiarity of this particular knowledge. The word yajna is used because knowing has to take place. The seekers have to know Brahman. Moksha cannot be gained simply by performing yajna. Knowledge of Brahman has to be gained, the gaining of which is moksha. Shankara makes it very clear in his commentary that the verb gains is used here to indicate that an inquiry has to be conducted, which involves time, and that through this inquiry, those who are mumukshus will gain eternal Brahman, Sanatanam Brahma Yanti. So, time is important. Yajna Shishta Mrita Pujaha Yanti Brahma Sanatanam Nayam Lokostya Yajnasya Kutonya Kurusattama. So inquiry implies time. And in our own instance, we have seen that compared to when we just started to where we are now, there is a better understanding of the subject matter. There's some more clarity that is dawning. So all this requires time. It did not just happen overnight. It did not happen in a moment. So that cleansing of the intellect, cleansing of the mind requires time. And exposing the mind to this knowledge also requires time. And for this knowledge to become steadfast, to become established, also requires time. So we cannot rush it up. It's not instant gratification, like sense gratification, instantly. You have a desire and you want to satisfy it immediately. Whereas inquiry requires time. That is why patience is required. And that is why dhriti is required. Being steadfast on the path, being committed on the path. If it was, the result was like jiffy, and you get it in one jiffy, like how you get your orders, online orders, it would have been different. Then there's no need for any of this. The Guru Shishya Parampara itself, the Shishya stays with the Guru for a length of time. So time is involved. The use of praise and criticism in the Gita. A common method of presenting the teaching found throughout the Gita is demonstrated in this verse. The use of stuti, praise, followed by the use of ninda or criticism. Praise is of the knowledge or the shastra. The teacher and the student are also praised. Even the result is praised. To praise the jnani is in fact to praise the result, moksha. Ninda is criticism. Ninda or criticism is done for no other reason than to create vairagya in the student to what is inimical to the vision and to create a proper interest in this vision and therefore a stronger commitment to it. People may come to the study with lukewarm enthusiasm. To stoke this mild enthusiasm into a burning desire to know, the Gita employs both criticism and praise, ninda and stuti. Stuti always coming first. Thus, wherever you find stuti, you will find ninda later. Here in this verse, then, the result, the phala, is stated first. They gain eternal Brahman. This means that the performance of such disciplines, sacrifices, and prayers is productive in that it will indirectly help you gain the knowledge of Brahman. Whatever taste you already have for them, whatever degree of commitment you have towards performing them, is further increased by presenting them against the background of what your lot will be if you do not perform them. This is done in the second line of this verse. Only when contrasted against stuti, praise, can ninda, criticism, be properly understood. A child, for example, should be praised or congratulated when he or she deserves it and judiciously chided when necessary. When you tell a child what he or she has done right, then when you point out what is wrong, the child will understand. This psychology is seen uniformly throughout the Gita. First, there is praise, and then immediately afterwards comes ninda. In this verse, the importance of the yajna is easily understood because of this method of stuti and ninda. Those who perform the various yajnas already presented and a few others found in the Veda and other Shastras that back up the Veda gain Brahman. And those who perform none of these prayerful disciplines do not gain anything. Such a person is called ayagnya, one who performs no yajna. So I'll just read the first paragraph because that is the crux over here, which is, see, ninda or criticism is done for no other reason than to create vairagya in the student to what is inimical to the vision and to create a proper interest in this vision and therefore a stronger commitment to it. People may come to the study with lukewarm enthusiasm. To stoke this mild enthusiasm into a burning desire to know, the Gita employs both criticism and praise, ninda and stuti. Stuti always coming first. Thus, wherever you find stuti, you will find ninda later. So, it's not just enough if you know by doing this what you get. By not doing what you're supposed to do, what is it you get? So that is the ninda. So why, when you say that, and that is also presented, what is the ultimate, what happens with that is you tend to develop vairagya. Vairagya to what? Vairagya to what is inimical, what is against the vision. And to create a proper interest, to deepen that interest, to make it, to intensify the interest. So mumukshu is what? Moksho me bhuyat iti tivra ichha. So that mumukshutvam, to solidify that. Otherwise it may be just lukewarm. Oh, this is just one more thing in my daily routine. Attending Gita class or doing Manana is one more thing. That is why China said your moksha should be top priority. It be top of the list. If it's somewhere bottom of the list, it's no use. It's like one more added to the agenda. Right? So that is why Gurudev also says, give the divine the highest priority. You can't say only after I finish this and this, I will do this. No. In the sense, not that you should not do your daily chores at all. That is important. That is part of your duties. You do that. But in your mind, as an attitude, your mind, that is why whatever we do, when we do it as yajna, then you get that amrita bhuja. Yajna shishtam amrita bhuja. So the ultimate end is what you gain is Brahman. So the importance of a proper attitude and discipline. This world that is commonly shared by everyone has certain things to give, from simple pleasure to the joy of maturity. But if there is no discipline, the world has nothing for you. I am lokaha nasti. If you do not have a prayerful attitude and discipline, the world can give you only bumps and potholes, nothing else. When your back is in trouble, even a small bump becomes excruciatingly painful. Without having a certain attitude, there are a lot of bumps in life, a lot of situations and events that you find you cannot swallow and that are not very pleasant. Without a proper attitude, how are you going to face them? And what are you going to accomplish without discipline? Even material success is not possible. Thus, it is said here that even this world, I am lokaha, which holds out certain joys to everyone, cannot be had by the ayagnya. Even small joys are not available for such a person. Where then is the possibility of any other world, anya lokaha, for you? No other world is possible. And where is the guarantee that you will be born again as a human being? All you can do is wait for another set of karmas to give you a human body and another chance to make better use of it. If you cannot gain what this world has to offer, How can you hope to gain another world? Kutaha anyaha? Any other world, a better life, a better world of experience like heaven and so on, requires punya, and therefore sadhana, meaning rituals and prayer, special meditations, and good acts, all of which are possible only when you have discipline. Therefore, there is no other loka available for you without prayerful discipline in some form or the other. Eternal Brahman, Sanatanam Brahma, is what is to be gained in life. And for the person without discipline, it is very far away indeed. Thus, if even this world is not there for him, then what to talk of eternal Brahman? We'll stop here. We'll do some manana. That is why the first verse of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is Atah Yoganushasanam. Then now I will unfold the discipline of yoga. So without discipline, not only will you not get anything in this world, neither in any other world. What is there for him? Nothing. So this is the ninda aspect, saying if you don't follow discipline, this is what you will get. So you will stay away from not following any discipline. You will automatically become disciplined. Yeah, let's all share. And worse, if you live a life which is not disciplined, you might not get a human life next birth. So, what are you going to do? You will have to pray till your karma fructifies, till you get another human body. That is why it is said so many times again and again, this human life is very precious. Make good use of it.
The Russian philosopher, Gurdjieff, he says for everything there's a price you have to pay. Are you willing to pay the price? He asks. If you don't follow this discipline, spiritual, there's a price.
Yeah.
Following discipline reduces our raga dvesha, and we lead to more composure in life, steadiness.
See, it is like uh, Gurudev gives the example of um, water body which does not have banks. It's like a flood of water. What can it cause? There's no discipline, no banks, no commitment, no discipline. It will only cause destruction. Whereas that is why there's the same thing that is mentioned here in this verse, that ninda, kutonya kuru sattama. There is no other word, no other world. There is only destruction. Whereas when you have a bank for this, you direct the water correctly, and you can make use of it into hydroelectric power. You can let it into the fields and let the fields grow. So the result is beautiful. It is useful. Similarly, living a life of sadhana, and that is why all our Upavedas also, Ayurveda is an Upaveda. It talks of dinacharya. So getting up at a particular time, doing things in a way, in a particular fashion, which is conducive for health. So that ultimately, only when you are healthy in your body, you'll be able to pursue anything else. Living a life, and then the sadhana panchakam that Adi Shankara lays forward for a householder. The 32 different aspects of how we should lead our life of sadhana. So when that is there, it is like you're having those banks to this water body, and what comes out, it only is uplifting, and it makes you evolve higher. We may not all get moksha in this life. We don't know. But at least you will continue to evolve until finally one realizes Brahman. Oh, we've gone past time. So we'll stop here and we'll go through this tomorrow. We just have one little part, but we'll do this tomorrow. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म अत्र वेदान्तमेव प्रमाणम् बोधकः सद्गुरु तत्त्वनिष्ठः ईश्वरानुगृहीतेन वेद्यम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ज्ञानगम्यं त्रुतुर्यं हृदयस्थम् आत्मरूपं हि तत् येन ज्ञातम् तद्वनः पारमाप्नोति सत्यम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मज्ञस्य तु ब्रह्मैव सर्वं नास्ति मोहो भयं नैव दुःखम् तस्य स्वानन्दमग्नं हि चित्तम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मैव सत्यम् धन्यवाद ब्रह्मराजी फॉर रिमाइंडिंग
Jai Gurudev.